Today's tutorial is on how to do a squat slide, also known as a sit-down slide. Now, what is a squat slide, you ask? Well, my young Padawan, a squat slide. Squat slide is this. A squat slide is also this. And a squat slide is this also. I mean, why wouldn't you want to learn how to do that? Like that shit looks so sick. Honestly, it's not fair, bro. Like, God gave these guys all the talent, bro. There's nothing left for the rest of us. It's really not fair. And the reason I didn't want to do this tutorial is because a squat slide is so personal. There's so many different variations and so many different things affect how you do it. I can really just give you best practices and best advice to really cut down your learning curve. So first thing, you want to be able to get into the box position pretty comfortably. And by box position, I mean like this sort of position, this as well, this as well, this as well. And that will really help you immensely in being comfortable in learning how to do the slide. You need to be able to sit on your legs and your feet and be comfortable in that position during the slide. You know, you're going to be balancing a lot in that position. So the more comfortable you are and at home in that position, the better for you. I find that people who have really good lower body flexibility find the squat slide easy to do. Next thing, you also want to have enough space on your board with how you put your feet. If it's too narrow, you may not be able to squat and control the slide comfortably. So you want to have enough space. I find sometimes on my downhill boards like this that I don't have enough room to be comfortable and control the slide when I'm in the slide. So you definitely want a bit of space. Also, bro, if you can't hillside slide, if you can't do a pendulum at least, or even like a pre-drift, like, bro, what are you doing here, man? Go learn those things, man. Just wasting your time watching this video. I mean, watch it obviously because it might be interesting, but like, you know, focus on that stuff first, innit? And finally, you want to have a decently dialed in setup and make sure that you're using like proper slide wheels. I know some of you are out there like, hey, I see Diego doing it on Magnums, bro. Even me, I can do it on Magnums. Or I see Ambrios doing it on race wheels as well with fresh skin. Bro, I'm telling you, those guys are built different, man. If you're an ordinary human being, if you're mortal, like just get proper slide wheels, get a proper slide setup, call it a day. Alright, now let's talk about back foot positioning. So if you have symmetrical trucks, you may want to have your knee higher up like that. You see the homie here, Evan Toon, the way he has his legs up like that. That's so you can have like more weight on the back foot without really like messing your back leg up too much. If you have a really big split setup, you may want to have your back knee more in a drop position like that. But the general idea is that when I skate a symmetrical setup, I tend to have a lot more weight on my back foot, maybe even about like 50% during the squat slide. But when I skate a split setup, I tend to have a lot more on my front foot during the squat slide. And having my feet in that position, you know, this way for split, this way for sim, just makes it a little bit more comfortable. But you find what works best for you. It's just a little bit of advice, you know, cut that learning curve down a little bit. Then the next piece of advice I have for you is that you gotta try to do it with and without a setup curve. Now, if you don't know what a setup curve is, bro, you need to go back and watch all those old Downhill 254 videos. You've been missing classes, you know. The reason I say this is for some setups, I found that if I set up curve for the squat slide, I tend to go over 90. And on others, if I don't set up curve, the kickout tends to be really harsh and I can't control the squat slide very well. It really depends on your setup and you gotta figure this out for yourself with a bit of experimentation. In summary, if the kickout is too harsh, if you're not set up carving, then set up carve. If you tend to go over 90, if you're set up carving, then don't do a setup carve. Just sort of like sit down into the box position and kick it out. And next, you really wanna learn it on a corner. I'll show you why. So you see this homie here, like he's learning to squat slide, but like he's struggling to keep it straight while still being in the slide. I find that with the squat slide, like when you kick it out, you tend to have such an angle to your slide and you tend to really go into, you know, the corner or into that direction that it's really hard to keep it straight and learn it on a straight road. So find a corner, mash some squat slides on it. And shout out to this guy, man. I really like this video. It's good stuff. Let me give it a like. Nice. And now some actual steps to actually do this stuff. So number one, you want a decent amount of speed. You don't want to be going too slow. You want to be going faster than you would if you're learning how to do a stand-up slide. And the nice thing about this is that when you fall, it's not going to be that bad. You're already quite low to the ground. You will either low side or you'll high side. So, you know, just make sure you have some knee pads. And when you fall, it's usually not that bad. So all good. So this is some good examples of a non-setup carve. Like look, it just sits in, then kicks the wheels out. It's a long slide, man. And then this one as well sits, kicks the wheels out, boom. This is a good example of a setup carve and kicks the wheels out. This is a good version of the setup carve version. Like look, he curves to the right and boom, hillside squat slide. So yeah, as you get to the zenith of the setup carve where you're supposed to kick out, you begin to sit down, or you sit down, then you kick the board out. That's what you do during the setup carve process just before the kick out. And you want to have most of your weight on your heels, really firmly placed and really like sitting on them or like behind them. This is what's gonna have like you allow you to keep the slide going and allow you to not high side, and yeah, so have weight on your heels. As you're like in the squat position, in the box position, whatever, and your body kick out, have your arms out as well. This will help you balance a little bit. Now, as you've completed your setup carve and you're getting to the apex of the setup carve or whatever, or you're just ready to kick the slide out, you can either kick your back leg out or you can swing your hips around. I prefer to teach the kicking the back leg out method as you can have better control this way, but some people also sort of swing in the hips. And remember, have your shoulders pointed where you want to go. Now, as you kick it out into the slide, remember to have a lot of weight on your heels. This allows you to keep the slide going and should stop you from high siding. Now, the problem a lot of people have in this position is they're either leaning back too much and they're not really in that box position properly. So they tend to like slap their hand on the ground and it turns into like a hillside pre-drift or a pendy. And then it's not that, you shouldn't lean back a lot, but perhaps you're leaning back more than you think you should. And then you also have to make sure you're not leaning on your back leg, as that's an easy way to high side. You're not putting enough weight on your front foot. So watch out for those two things. Now with your back leg, you're almost able to use it as a rudder to direct the slide. Your front leg is more like an anchor and is what sort of the slide rotates around. So with your back leg, you can control the angle of your slide and just sort of maintain pressure once you've found like the amount of angle you want, and hold it there and you should hopefully maintain the slide. Now, when you want to hook up from the slide and stop sliding, release pressure from your back leg, and this should allow the board to start rotating. And maintaining pressure on your front leg allows that board to rotate like this and straighten up, and you should hook up. Now, with the hookup, the nice thing about squat slides is a lot of the time the hookup isn't that aggressive, so you should be able to roll away quite easily. So most people are pretty scared and they tend to lean quite far back, and what happens, they end up like slapping the ground. So what you want to do is you want to really like sit on the board. Yes, you might fall, but you know, if you have protective gear, no issue in it. I think this is the part that a lot of people are going to have trouble with, because there's sort of like a sweet spot and you have to sort of figure that out, and that can only happen if you practice a lot. Here's where the practice comes in. You gotta drill that in. You know, it might not come in the first 2 weeks or first few days of you learning this. You have to work really hard to get it. But yeah, I think this is what gave me the most trouble. And the other thing that we troubleshooted also was like, if you're over rotating, if you're rotating over 90 degrees going into a 180, then don't setup carve. If the Kickout is too harsh and too aggressive and it feels really weird and destabilizes you, then do a setup carve to make braking traction a little bit more smoother. Alright, so some troubleshooting with some examples. So this is what happens when you don't set up carve properly. On a board that requires setup carving, you tend to go over 90 degrees. May not happen to you, but it happened to me a lot on my setups. Here's another example where I was still making the same mistakes, just couldn't get it together. Such an idiot. Another example, same issue as well. No setup carve, boom, there you go. Another example, but now I do a tiny bit of a setup carve and it helps me a lot. Okay, this is me earlier in the session doing a proper setup carve, but I had forgotten, you know, what I was doing. Another example, so here I do a little bit of a setup carve, then I get a nice slide. See, I'm so happy. Alright, but then here I don't really do a setup carve, and then I kick out and it's really hard to control and I almost die. So, you know, at the time I was like, why is it so difficult? But, you know, watching back now, seeing the inconsistencies in what I was doing, it's really obvious. Got another example. So here I was nowhere near comfortable in the box position, so I couldn't slide properly at all. I managed to do a slide in the end, but it wasn't all that impressive. But at this point of my skating career, I was not very comfortable in the box position, and if you look at that again, you can just see how awkward I look. Look at me, not locked in much at all. Yeah, I was able to do the squat slide, but I wouldn't have been able to slide for further. I wasn't very comfortable in that position. Another example of a failure. So I wasn't comfortable in the box position. Yeah, and I kind of messed up. And if you go back here, let's go back a little bit, you can sort of see that, dude, I can't see because of the camera. That my leg is like lifted up. So yeah, I wasn't very comfortable in the box position. And then here as well, I wasn't set up carving, so I tried, and the kick out was really harsh and I had to run it out. So a couple more examples. So back here, I had discovered stretching, but my setup wasn't very good. And if you notice, my foot positioning isn't all that good as well. My flexibility wasn't that great just yet. My pants were also quite tight, and I didn't have the best control over my trucks because I was actually sitting quite narrow. My width was quite narrow, and maybe we'll get a better view of it here. Like, look at that, that's quite narrow. I think I would have liked to be more spread out and have a wider stance. So now this one, did I make it? No, I don't. But yeah, also my setup isn't the best, but I think really my issue was flexibility and standing too close to my feet together. Alrighty, now with these ones, let's see this one. Let's see what one in. What happens, Abuga? Do you get this slide? What do you do? Yeah, so I didn't. So with this setup that I had at this time, it was on Ronin's, and it didn't want you to set up carve. It wanted you to load your wheels and then kick out, you know. But here I sort of like didn't settle into the box position. I sort of did like a semi carve. So yeah, I didn't feel very in control. Let's see what happened here. So here as well, yeah, I did a sort of setup carve, and that caused me to over rotate. I didn't settle into the box position again. Let's see, did I manage to do it here? Come on, man, the internet is watching, don't embarrass yourself. Yeah, so I did it here, distinctly you'd notice that I really got into the box position and got settled here before then kicking the board out. So yeah, if you compare with here, like you'll see I didn't get settled. I just hurried into it. So yeah, stuff like that. So yeah. And I think that's it for the tutorial. Thank you for watching. I hope it's been helpful. If I've missed out on anything or you have any advice to give other people, do leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. And thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next video.